Hello guys. In this video, we will explain all properties of the Inbound and Outbound Agent Database Adapter. Introduction. This diagram shows what is the adapter. The adapter core is the central communication component between external systems and Salesforce. It acts like a translator and connector that helps both systems exchange data securely and correctly. First, on the left side, you can see the external systems such as databases, flat files, SFTP/FTP servers, cloud applications, web services or REST APIs, ERP systems, and many others. These systems send requests or data in different formats. Next, in the center, we have the adapter core. The adapter acts as a translator and communication bridge that enables secure and reliable data exchange between external systems and Salesforce. It handles protocol communication, data formatting and parsing, authentication and security, error handling and logging, as well as routing and transformation. The adapter core does not contain business logic. Its main purpose is to manage communication and data exchange. Finally, on the right side, the adapter connects to Salesforce using APIs such as SOAP or REST. Salesforce then processes the data through objects, records, Apex processes, flows, triggers, and validations, and sends the response back through the adapter to the external systems. In this video, we focus only on the Agent Database Adapter. The database adapter is used to connect Salesforce with external databases. It acts as a communication bridge that allows Salesforce to read, send, and exchange data with database systems securely and efficiently. This diagram shows the configuration properties of the SKYVVA Agent Database Adapter and how it connects Salesforce with external database systems. First, on the left side, we have the information section. This section contains the basic setup of the adapter such as name, direction, inbound or outbound, status, type, and description. These fields define what the adapter is and how it behaves. Next, in the middle, we have the properties section. This section contains the main database connection settings. It includes deployment options on-premise or on cloud, API protocol, JDBC or ODBC, and database details such as database type, driver, hostname, port, database name, schema, and service instance. It also includes authentication details like username and password. All these properties are used to establish a secure connection between SKYVVA and the external database. On the right side, we have advanced logic and communication settings. This includes connection properties like encryption settings, auto-generated connection URI, timeout configuration, custom processing class for advanced logic, and connection destination to define where data should be sent. We also have the action buttons that allow us to manage the configuration. Cancel closes without saving, save stores the setup, ping connection checks server reachability, and test connection validates the full database connection. Now we are on the Agent Control Board screen. Click on the Adapter tab. Click the New button. You will see this pop-up screen. This screen is used to create an adapter in SKYVVA. This screen is divided into two main sections, Information and Properties. Here, you can see the Information Adapter section. This section contains the adapter information. Now, let's start. The first field is Name. In this field, we need to set a unique name for the adapter. You can set the name based on your requirements. In this example, we entered the name Database Adapter. For the next field is Direction. This field defines the flow direction of the adapter. We have two options, outbound and inbound. If you choose outbound, it means the data will be sent from SKYVVA to the database. If you choose inbound, it means the data will be received from database to SKYVVA. For the Agent Database Adapter, the inbound and outbound directions have almost the same properties. The difference is mainly in how and where they are used. Some properties are slightly different, and we'll explain those differences later. For this example, we choose the outbound direction. The next field is Status. For this field, we have two options, active and inactive. When we select active, it means the adapter is enabled. When we select inactive, it means the adapter is disabled. The next field is type. For the type field, we support many types of adapters, such as agent file, agent database, agent REST, and more. However, in this video, we are focusing on the database adapter, so we choose agent database. The next field is description. This field is used for optional notes about the adapter. Now, let's look at the Properties Adapter section. The first property of the adapter is the Deployment Option field. This field defines where the database is hosted. We support two options on-premise. It means software is installed and runs on a company's own hardware infrastructure and is hosted locally. It means the database is inside your network. On cloud, it means whereas cloud software is stored and managed on the provider servers and accessed through a web browser or other interface, it means the database is in the cloud. In this example, we choose by the default screen on-premise. The next field is API protocol. This field defines the protocol used to connect to the database. As you can see on the screen, we currently support two options, JDBC, Java Database Connectivity. This is the most commonly used option for connecting SKYVVA to databases such as SQL Server, MySQL, Oracle, and PostgreSQL. JDBC uses a database driver to establish the connection between SKYVVA and the target database. This is the most common option. It connects directly to the database using a JDBC driver. ODBC, Open Database Connectivity. This option is another standard method for database connections and is mainly used when the environment or database system requires ODBC drivers. This option uses an ODBC driver instead of JDBC. It is usually used when the system already has an ODBC configuration. In this example, we choose JDBC because it provides a direct and simple connection to the database, especially for SQL Server. The next property is database type. Here you can see that SKYVVA supports multiple database types, such as Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, PostgreSQL, and MS Access. Each database type has its own configuration and driver requirements. We will explain each one in detail in another video. But for this example, we will focus on SQL Server. When we select SQL Server, it means this adapter will connect directly to a Microsoft SQL Server database. So in real use, SKYVVA will use this configuration to connect to the SQL Server system, read or write data from SQL Server tables, and exchange data between SKYVVA and SQL Server securely. In this case, please make sure you have already installed and configured SQL Server. The next property is driver. This is the JDBC driver class name. The driver acts as a bridge between a Java application and a SQL Server database. You need to use the correct driver. Without the correct driver, the application cannot communicate with SQL Server and connection tests will fail. As you can see, this field is autofilled when SQL Server is selected. The next property is username. It means the database login username. For example, we use SA as the username. You can use the username that you use to log into your database. The next property is password. It means password for the database user. The password must match SQL Server authentication credentials or Active Directory credentials, depending on setup. Now, we put the correct password that we use. The next property is hostname. It means the IP address or server name where SQL Server is installed. This tells the adapter which machine should I connect to. Now, we enter the correct hostname. You can use your own hostname. The next property is port. It refers to the TCP network port that SQL Server is listening on. The default SQL Server port is 1433. You can use the default port or a dynamic port based on your database configuration. In this case, we use a dynamic port. Please make sure you use the correct port. If the port is wrong, connection timeouts may occur, ping tests may fail, and the firewall may block access. The next property is database name. It refers to the specific database inside SQL Server. SQL Server can host multiple databases, such as master, temp, HR, finance, and business. In this example, the adapter connects specifically to the business database. The next property is schema name. It refers to the schema inside the database. A schema is like a folder or a namespace for database objects, including tables, views, procedures, and functions. In this case, we use the default SQL Server schema is DBO. The next property is service instance. It means the SQL Server instance name. A single machine can run multiple SQL Server installations, multiple isolated database engines. Example, SQL Server is default instance, SQLExpress is Express Edition instance, DivServer is a custom instance. In this example, the adapter connects to SQLExpress. The next property is connection properties. This section contains additional JDBC connection settings. You can see that part 1 is encrypt equals true. This means the communication between the application and SQL Server is encrypted. It is important for protecting credentials, queries, and sensitive data. You can also see part 2 is trust server certificate equals true. It tells the client to accept the SQL Server SSL certificate without strict validation. The next property is connection URI. The connection URI is the complete JDBC connection string used by the SKYVVA Database Adapter to connect to SQL Server. It contains important connection information such as the SQL Server IP address, port number, database name, and security settings like encryption and SSL certificate handling. This field is filled automatically, so you do not need to input anything. The next property is timeout. This property defines the maximum waiting time for the database connection or database operation before the system stops the request. The next property is insert operation mode. This property defines how SKYVVA handles insert operations when writing data into the database. In this field, we have two options: external key management and internal key management. For external key management, the field primary key and foreign key in the database will use the value sent from Salesforce. In this case, we do not need to define a response interface because the primary key has been known. For internal key management, it will ignore the value for the field primary key and foreign key sent from Salesforce. This key value is generated automatically based on the auto-increment field defined inside the database. In this case, Agent will return the value that is the primary key generated by the database to Salesforce. Internal key or external key management is designed to work for database insert operation only. For other operations, this mode has no functionality. The next property is specify the location to run the interface. This property defines where the interface processing will execute. In this field, we have two options, Salesforce and Agent. This setting is very important because it controls where the integration logic runs, how systems communicate, performance, and connectivity. When selecting Salesforce, the interface processing runs directly inside the Salesforce platform. When selecting Agent, the interface processing runs on the SKYVVA integration agent. The next property is processing mode. This property defines how data is transferred between systems and how the integration process works. In this field, we have two options, pushing and polling. When using pushing mode, the source system actively sends data immediately to the target system. When using polling mode, the system periodically checks for new or updated data. The next property is custom processing class. This property allows developers to specify a custom Java processing class for advanced logic. You can create your own custom class to transform data, add validation, customize processing logic, and handle special business requirements. The next property is connection destination. This property defines the target connection destination used by the adapter. It specifies which destination system, which configured connection, where the data should go. This field is important because without a valid destination, the adapter does not know where to send data. In this example, we select the existing connection. Next, we explain about all buttons on the screen. Here you can see the Cancel button. The Cancel button is used to close the adapter configuration window without saving any changes. The next button is Save button. The Save button is used to store and apply the adapter configuration. The next button is Ping Connection button. The Ping Connection button is used to quickly verify whether the target server is reachable. The next button is Test Connection button. The Test Connection button performs a full connection validation to the database. After we configure all properties and make sure everything is correct, click Ping Connection to verify the connection. If the adapter configuration is correct, it will show Adapter Ping Successful.
See?
It means this adapter configuration is correct, and we can use it based on the requirements. Now we have explained all properties and buttons of the Outbound Agent Database Adapter. The Outbound and Inbound Agent Database Adapters share most of the same properties. However, the Outbound Adapter has two additional fields, Processing Mode and Specify the Location to run the interface, which are not available in the Inbound Database Adapter. Now, let's switch to the inbound direction.
See?
It has the same properties as the outbound direction. However, the Inbound Agent Database Adapter and the Outbound Agent Database Adapter are the same, with only the direction being different. Inbound and outbound, they're just used for different use cases.
Summary.
This video explains the SKYVVA Agent Database Adapter used to connect Salesforce with external databases like SQL Server. We covered how to configure the adapter in the information section, name, direction, status, type, and the properties section, deployment option, JDBC, ODBC protocol, database type, connection settings, timeout, and insert operation mode. We also explained execution location Salesforce or agent, processing mode pushing or polling, and advanced options like custom processing class and connection destination. Finally, we reviewed key actions such as ping connection, test connection, save, and cancel, which help validate and manage the adapter setup for reliable data integration. Thanks for visiting our YouTube channel.
See you in the next video.